There's a dangerous lie that most men learn early on, the idea that being completely transparent is always a virtue. They say you should show everything you think, reveal everything you feel, and react immediately to everything that happens. It sounds noble, it sounds honest, it sounds right. But there's a problem. The most manipulated men in the world do exactly that. Pay close attention. People who are constantly used, ignored, provoked, and controlled often have one thing in common. They are easy to read. Everyone knows what irritates them. Everyone knows what motivates them. Everyone knows exactly which button to press to get the desired reaction. And when someone can predict their emotions, they also begin to predict their decisions. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. While most observed speeches about morality and good intentions, he observed how power truly worked. He realized that the most dangerous men were rarely the loudest. The most influential were not the most impulsive, and the hardest to defeat were not the strongest. They were those who mastered something almost no one notices, the ability to control their responses, while everyone around them continued to act on impulse. In this video, you'll understand why most men give away their power without realizing it, how manipulative people identify your vulnerabilities in minutes, and what psychological skill transforms someone from an easy target into an impossible-to-control presence. Because there's a huge difference between hiding who you are and learning not to give your mind to just anyone who wants to access it. And when you understand this difference, you will begin to see human behavior in a way that you will never be able to ignore again. If something inside you awakened while listening, don't ignore that feeling. This channel isn't about videos. It's about memories. Remember who you were before the fear, before the exhaustion, before the silence. Each new video here is a different reflection of your own soul. An invitation to understand what the world never taught you. The power you seek outside has always been within you. If you feel that this journey speaks to what lives silently within you, sign up now. Not to follow yet another creator, but to reconnect with something the world tried to make you forget. Because here, every word was made to heal, each reflection to awaken, and each video serves as a reminder you are not alone on the path back to yourself. Click on subscribe and turn the algorithm into a daily reminder of who you really are. Most people believe that power means responding quickly, winning arguments, always having the last word, or immediately displaying strength when provoked. But reality often works very differently. The man who reacts to everything relinquishes something precious without realizing it. Self-control. Whenever someone manages to provoke an instant emotional response, they gain control over that individual. This is precisely why so many manipulative people love to provoke, mock, or test limits. They are not seeking an argument, they are looking for a reaction. Machiavelli deeply understood this dynamic because he observed politics guided by reality, not by ideals. He knew that people rarely reveal their true intentions from the outset. First, they observe, then they test, then they exploit the weaknesses they find. And one of the greatest human weaknesses is the inability to remain silent when the ego feels threatened. The man who feels the need to respond immediately reveals his sensitive points. The man who remains serene creates a psychological fog that makes others uncomfortable. After all, it is impossible to control someone whose reaction cannot be predicted. Consider a common situation. Someone makes a provocative comment in a meeting among friends or even on social media. Most people go into automatic mode. They justify themselves. They defend themselves. They explain themselves. They argue. The more you talk, the more information you reveal about your fears, insecurities, and emotions. But there is another way. The individual who understands true human nature learns to observe before acting. Instead of responding with the same speed as the provocation, they create a pause. Sometimes a simple, calm look is worth more than 10 minutes of explanation. This doesn't mean passivity, nor does it mean accepting disrespect. It means the calculated use of force. It means understanding that not every battle deserves an immediate response. In many cases, silence creates more discomfort than any argument could. It's similar to a chess player who doesn't move the piece the opponent expected. Suddenly, the board changes, the tension increases, and the opponent begins to reveal moves they would never show if they had received the expected reaction. Interestingly, it is precisely at this point that a fundamental distinction emerges between two types of men that are rarely noticed by most people. There is an invisible difference between men who appear identical on the outside but live completely different realities on the inside. Both work, talk, have responsibilities, and face problems daily. However, one lives as a slave without realizing it, while the other experiences a rare kind of freedom that few people achieve. The enslaved man is one whose mind belongs to circumstances. His mood depends on the opinions of others. His peace depends on the behavior of others. His confidence depends on the approval of others. If he receives praise, he feels strong. If he receives criticism, he feels destroyed. He believes he is making his own decisions, but in reality, he is constantly reacting to external stimuli. His life becomes an endless sequence of automatic responses. Machiavelli observed this behavior attentively because he understood that those who do not master themselves will inevitably be mastered by someone else. In a world driven by politics, guided by reality, not by ideals, true freedom has never been a matter of the absence of rules. It has always been a matter of inner mastery. Whoever loses control of their own emotions surrenders control of their own direction. And whoever surrenders the direction of their own life rarely reaches the destination they desire. A free man develops a rare skill, the ability to choose his responses. When provoked, he doesn't react automatically. When criticized, he doesn't immediately go on the defensive. When an opportunity arises, he doesn't let himself be carried away by the excitement of the moment. There's a space between what happens and what he decides to do. It is in this space that his strength resides. Think of an experienced investor during a financial crisis. While thousands panic and sell everything driven by fear, he observes the facts coldly before acting. The same happens in relationships, in business, and in power struggles. Better to be feared than loved doesn't mean spreading fear wherever you go. It means demonstrating such solid emotional stability that no one can easily push the buttons of your mind. This man understands that human nature is impulsive, emotional, and often predictable. Therefore, he develops constant adaptability, observes patterns, and avoids hasty decisions. And the more he learns to control his own reactions, the more he realizes something uncomfortable. Most people reveal exactly what they intend to do long before they act. One of Machiavelli's least understood lessons is not related to military strength, wealth, or political influence. It's related to predictability. In studying rulers, leaders, and princes of his time, he noticed a curious pattern. Those who reacted predictably were often defeated by less powerful, but more difficult to read, adversaries. After all, when someone can predict your actions, they can set traps for them. It's like playing cards, showing your hand to everyone at the table. The problem isn't the quality of the cards. The problem is that everyone knows exactly what the next move will be. In politics guided by reality, not ideals, people observe much more than they admit. They analyze habits, emotional patterns, triggers, and repetitive behaviors. When they discover how someone reacts to pressure, they gain a map of that person's mind. And whoever possesses a map can anticipate trajectories. That's why Machiavelli valued leaders capable of controlling their own image, concealing intentions, and adapting strategies as the scenario demanded. Not because they were false, but because they grasped an uncomfortable truth about human nature. That which is completely predictable becomes becomes easily controllable. For this reason, many of the rulers who survived the most violent crises in history developed a characteristic that confused allies and adversaries alike. They mastered the appearance of virtue without revealing all their intentions. They knew when to demonstrate firmness, when to appear flexible, and when to simply remain silent. The average person usually sees this as a contradiction. The strategist sees it as constant adaptability. Imagine a business negotiation. If everyone knows exactly how far you are willing to concede, the negotiation is practically over before it even begins. Now imagine someone who listens more than they speak, observes more than they react, and rarely shows their true emotions. Suddenly, the atmosphere changes. People start making assumptions. And when others begin to fill in the gaps with their own imagination, they often reveal more about themselves than they intended. This is where the concepts of virtù and fortuna arise. Fortuna creates unpredictable circumstances. Virtù allows one to navigate them without becoming a prisoner of a fixed pattern. Interestingly, when a person refuses to react in the expected way, they begin to provoke something extremely uncomfortable in the minds of others. A silent breaking of the invisible rules that govern most human interactions. Most people believe that human relationships function solely through words, but there's a much deeper layer operating silently behind every conversation, discussion, or social interaction. It's an invisible system of expectations. When someone provokes, they expect a reaction. When someone criticizes, they expect a defense. When someone tries to intimidate, they expect signs of fear. It's like an unwritten psychological contract that everyone learns to follow from an early age without even realizing it. Therefore, much of human interaction happens on autopilot. One behavior generates another predictable behavior. One emotion produces an equally predictable response. The problem is that those who understand this mechanism discover a huge advantage. Machiavelli observed that many conflicts were won not by direct force, but by the ability to break expected patterns. In a reality guided by true human nature, people feel comfortable with predictability. They like knowing how others will react because it gives them a sense of control. When this predictability disappears, something interesting happens. The opponent's psychological security begins to crumble. And often it's not necessary to raise one's voice or demonstrate aggression for this to happen. Imagine someone trying to provoke an argument, perhaps at work, perhaps in a relationship, perhaps even in a casual online conversation. The person launches the provocation hoping to initiate a specific sequence of events. They expect justifications, explanations, arguments, or defenses. But then they receive something unexpected. Nothing. No emotional outburst. No need to prove a point. No desperate attempt to win the argument. Just serenity. Just presence. Just strategic silence. At that moment, the game changes completely. The human mind hates gaps. It seeks explanations for everything. When it doesn't find a predictable answer, it starts creating hypotheses. Did he not care? Does he know something I don't? Did he lose interest? It is precisely at this point that psychological balance shifts. The man who understands the calculated use of force knows that advancing doesn't always mean attacking. Sometimes advancing means taking away what the other person expected to receive. And when someone removes the emotional fuel from a predictable dynamic, a curious phenomenon is created. People begin to see much more than what is being said and start to fear what they cannot understand. There's a reason why some people seem to exert influence even when they speak little. It's not necessarily wealth, social standing, or appearance. Often it's something more subtle. It's the fact that no one can fully decipher them. The average person functions like a glass box. Everyone knows what they think, what they feel, what they desire, and what they fear. Their emotions are exposed in every impulsive reaction. Their body language betrays insecurities. Their words reveal intentions. Their behaviors follow such predictable patterns that you only need to observe them for a while to understand exactly how to manipulate them. Most manipulations begin precisely there. When someone discovers their fears, their needs, and their need for approval, they gain the tools to influence their decisions. Machiavelli understood this deeply. In a world governed by politics guided by reality, not ideals, information has always been a form of power. And what you constantly reveal ceases to be just information. It becomes vulnerability, not because transparency is a bad thing, but because excessive exposure transforms anyone into easily mappable territory. And that which can be completely mapped can also be easily explored. The black box, however, operates differently, not because it hides everything or pretends to be someone it's not. The difference lies in the fact that it carefully chooses what it reveals and when it reveals it. Just as pilots rely on the black box to understand events after they happen, people around them constantly try to interpret someone who doesn't immediately give away all the answers. This kind of presence generates a powerful psychological phenomenon. When information is limited, imagination comes into play, and human imagination is often much more intense than reality. Think of a leader who rarely reacts impulsively, who listens more than speaks, and who doesn't feel the need to explain every decision to gain approval. Naturally, people begin to attribute depth, strategy, and intention to their actions. This is why the appearance of virtue is often worth more than long speeches about virtue. This is why intelligent leaders avoid showing all their cards at once. It's better to be feared than loved, not because fear is the ultimate goal, but because absolute predictability eliminates any aura of strength. And when someone becomes difficult to predict, an element even more powerful than mystery emerges: the ability to consciously choose how to respond to the stimuli of the world around them. Between what happens and what a person does, there is an invisible space that most people don't even perceive. It's an extremely short interval, often only a few seconds, but capable of determining the course of an entire life. Viktor Frankl observed this truth in the most extreme circumstances imaginable. Even surrounded by suffering, deprivation, and psychological pressure, he realized that there was something that no one could completely take away from a human being: the ability to choose their response to events. This principle seems simple when put into words, but it is profoundly transformative when understood in practice. Most people live reacting automatically to external stimuli. They receive criticism and feel anger. They receive a provocation and feel the need to attack. They receive rejection and feel the need to prove their worth. Everything happens so fast that it seems inevitable, but it isn't. The person who develops awareness learns to see this hidden space between the event and the reaction, and it is precisely there that true freedom begins. Not the freedom promised by idealistic speeches, but the freedom built on decisions based on real human nature. A freedom that does not depend on circumstances, but on the ability to govern oneself. This is precisely where all the previous lessons connect. Strategic silence, emotional control, unpredictability, pattern breaking, and calculated opacity are not isolated techniques. They are natural consequences of someone who has widened the gap between stimulus and response. When a provocation arises, they observe before acting. When an opportunity arises, they analyze before moving forward. When a threat arises, they assess before reacting. This is the true meaning of virtu and fortuna working together. Fortuna presents unexpected challenges, obstacles, and opportunities. Virtu determines how the individual will respond to each of them. Think of someone who receives an aggressive message on their cell phone. The automatic reaction would be to respond immediately, driven by the emotion of the moment. But the strategist does something different. They close the conversation. They walk for a few minutes. They breathe. They sleep on the problem, if necessary. And only then do they decide which move will produce the best result. It seems simple, but few manage to do it consistently. Perhaps because the ego loves speed and wisdom loves patience. Perhaps because most people are still struggling to control the external world while ignoring their own inner world. And perhaps that is precisely where the difference lies between those who are led by life and those who learn to lead it. Throughout this video, one truth became increasingly clear. The greatest battlefield of your life has never been around you. It has always been within you. Most people spend years trying to control circumstances, convince people, change opinions, and win external conflicts. But they continue to lose the most important war of all, the war against their own impulses. Every provocation you don't control becomes a chain reaction. Every automatic reaction surrenders a part of your freedom. Every need to explain, justify, or prove something to someone creates a door that others can walk through to influence your decisions. And that's precisely why so few achieve true personal power. They spend their entire lives trying to dominate the world without first dominating themselves. The question that remains is simple but uncomfortable. How many times has someone controlled your mood with just one sentence? How many decisions have you made driven by anger, pride, or the need for approval? How many opportunities have been lost because a momentary emotion took over? And more importantly, who is really in control of your life today? You or the circumstances around you? Machiavelli understood that the most dangerous man is not the one who intimidates others. It is the one who cannot be easily manipulated. The man who understands human nature, controls his responses, observes before acting, and chooses his moves intelligently possesses an advantage that money, status, and physical strength can never replace. Now, I want to hear your opinion. What was the most powerful lesson from this video? Have you ever noticed someone trying to provoke an emotional reaction from you to gain an advantage? And which of these principles do you intend to apply immediately in your life? Write your answer in the comments. Your experience can help other people who are going through the same situation. And if you want to continue learning about strategy, power, human behavior, Machiavelli, and the principles that truly govern human relationships, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Because most people will continue living on autopilot, but you don't have to be one of them.